I still remember the night she looked me in the eyes and said, "I think I want to date someone else." My heart didn't break immediately, it froze. Like my mind was trying to convince my heart it had misheard the woman I once believed would never hurt me. But the truth was sharper than any knife. And what I did after that night, no one, not even she, saw it coming. You know, they say marriage is built on trust. But no one tells you what to do when the person you trust most starts to drift away, quietly, slowly, without leaving footprints. My name's Ethan Carter. 32 years old. An average man with an above-average love for his wife, Lena. We'd been married for 5 years, high school sweethearts who somehow survived college, long distance, and everything in between. I used to believe that surviving the storms made a marriage unbreakable. Turns out, sometimes it's not the storms that destroy you. It's the calm that comes before one. Lena and I lived in a cozy 2-bedroom house in Seattle. She worked as a graphic designer, creative, spontaneous, the kind of woman who made everything she touched feel alive. I was an engineer, practical and predictable. Together, we balanced each other perfectly. At least, that's what I thought. Every morning, I'd make her coffee before leaving for work. 1 spoon of sugar, oat milk, cinnamon sprinkled on top, her favorite. She'd kiss my cheek and smile that sleepy smile that used to melt me. Those tiny moments were my heaven. But then, slowly, heaven started to feel distant. It began with silence. Not loud, angry silence, just empty spaces and conversations. When I'd ask how her day was, she'd answer without looking up from her phone. When I hugged her from behind, she'd gently pull away, saying she was working on a deadline. At first, I didn't overthink it. I told myself marriage changes. People grow. But some nights, I'd find her awake at 2 a.m., staring at her screen, smiling faintly. She'd lock her phone the moment I walked in. That smile, it wasn't for me. One weekend I suggested a road trip, just the two of us, like old times. She hesitated, then said, "Babe, I have a big project due Monday. Maybe next time?" Next time never came. Instead, she started working late. Too late. I'd call around 9 p.m., and she'd say, "Don't wait for me, Ethan. I'm still at the office." Her voice always sounded distracted, like her body was at work, but her heart was somewhere else. I remember one Friday evening vividly. I'd gotten off work early, thought I'd surprise her with dinner at her favorite sushi place. I called, but she didn't answer. So I drove straight to her office. The parking lot was empty. All lights were off, except one at the far end. Her window. I smiled, relieved. Maybe she really was working. But as I got closer, I noticed a shadow move behind the curtain. 2 shadows. I froze. My hands trembled as I reached for the door, but then I stopped. I wasn't ready to know. Not yet. I drove home instead, convincing myself it was nothing. Maybe her coworker was just helping her finish something. Maybe. That night, she came home past midnight. I pretended to be asleep, but my heartbeat gave me away. I could smell perfume, not hers. It was subtle, musky, masculine. She slipped into bed quietly, but I could feel her body tense beside me. She faced away, clutching her phone under the blanket. I whispered, "You okay?" She froze for a second, then said, "Just tired." I wanted to believe her. God knows I did. But something inside me cracked that night, the kind of crack you don't hear until it's too late. Days turned into weeks. The distance between us grew wider. Our conversations turned into routines, emotionless, rehearsed. She started dressing differently. More perfume. More makeup. And her smile, that once glowed for me, now seemed rehearsed too. But here's the thing about love. When you love someone deeply, your mind becomes their defense lawyer. You find excuses for every red flag. Because facing the truth feels worse than dying. Then came that Sunday morning. I was sitting in the living room, sipping coffee, when her phone buzzed on the kitchen counter. She was in the shower. Normally, I'd never touch it. But that morning, Something inside me whispered, check it. I shouldn't have listened. The message preview read, can't stop thinking about last night. When can I see you again? Followed by a red heart. My stomach twisted. I opened it. The contact name was saved as M. No last name. I scrolled. Their messages went weeks back. Flirty jokes. Inside stories. Hidden plans. And then, photos. Her smile. Her eyes. A version of her that wasn't mine anymore. When she came out of the shower, humming a tune, I was still sitting there, phone in hand. Her face went pale. Ethan, she whispered, voice trembling. I can explain. But she couldn't. There are no explanations for betrayal that make sense to the betrayed. I said nothing. Just handed her the phone and walked out of the house. The air outside felt heavier than the truth itself. I drove aimlessly for hours. Through the rain. Through silence. Through the kind of heartbreak that makes you forget who you are. When I finally parked by the lake, I just sat there, staring at the water, at my reflection, wondering when my life stopped feeling like mine. She called, texted, begged to talk. But I ignored it all. I needed space. I needed to breathe without drowning in her lies. That night I came home. She was sitting on the couch, eyes red from crying. She said softly, Ethan, please. I made a mistake. It didn't mean anything. I laughed, not because it was funny, but because that's what pain sounds like when it's too big to scream. I asked her one question. Do you love him? Her lips trembled. Her silence was my answer. The next morning, I didn't go to work. I stayed home, staring at our wedding photo on the wall. We looked so young. So sure. So full of forever. But forever had an expiration date. She moved into the guest room that night. And I started sleeping like a stranger in my own life. Days passed. We coexisted in silence. Two souls tied by paperwork, not love. But the storm wasn't over. It was just gathering strength. Because a few days later, she looked at me over breakfast, her voice eerily calm, and said the words that would turn my entire world upside down. Ethan, I think I want to date someone else. When she said those words, I think I want to date someone else. I didn't scream. I didn't throw things. I just stared at her. The way you stare at a fire that's burning down your house but you're too shocked to move. There was a strange calm in her tone, like she'd been rehearsing that sentence for weeks. Maybe even months. I asked quietly, Are you serious? She nodded. I don't want to hurt you, Ethan. I feel like I need to explore what I want. Explore. What she wanted. We'd built a life together, shared dreams, birthdays, heartbreaks, and now she wanted to explore. I tried to keep my voice steady. Lena, are you saying you want a break from me, or are you saying you want permission to cheat? She flinched. Don't call it that. It's not about cheating. It's about being honest with what I feel. Honest? The word hit me like a punch. I said nothing. I just stood up, walked to the window, and watched the rain slide down the glass. Each drop reflecting how my life was falling apart, quietly, one heartbeat at a time. For days I barely spoke. She moved around the house like a ghost, avoiding my eyes, avoiding the weight of her own guilt. But she didn't leave. And that confused me more than anything. If she wanted someone else, why stay? Why sleep under the same roof, breathe the same air, and pretend we were still us? Then one evening I got my answer. It was a Wednesday night. I'd come home early. Her car was outside, lights were dim inside. For a moment, it almost felt normal again, like maybe she changed her mind. But when I opened the door, I heard her voice. Soft, low, emotional. Talking to someone? I froze. The TV was off. Her laughter echoed faintly from the kitchen. I stepped closer. Her phone was on speaker. And then I heard a man's voice say, Baby, I miss you. I wish you'd just tell him already. My body went cold. She giggled, like a teenage girl in love. I will soon. He deserves to know the truth. Deserves. That word burned. I walked in slowly. She turned, and the color drained from her face. The phone slipped from her hand. Ethan, she whispered, voice trembling. This isn't what you think. I picked up the phone. The call was still active. I pressed the screen. Who is this? I asked. The man stammered. Then hung up. I looked at her. And for the first time, she couldn't meet my eyes. Was that him? I asked. She said nothing. I pressed again, louder now. Was that him, Lena? Tears welled up in her eyes. Yes. And just like that, the world I knew collapsed in silence. She tried to explain, said she hadn't done anything physical. Said it was emotional confusion. But betrayal isn't measured by physical distance. It's measured by where your heart belongs. And hers was already gone. I asked her one thing. Do you love him? She didn't answer. But the tears that fell down her face, they were enough. That night I couldn't sleep. I sat on the couch, staring into nothing, listening to the ticking clock mock me with every second. How could the woman I built my life around want to date someone else, while still living under my roof? Part of me wanted to throw her out. Part of me wanted to beg her to stay. And another part, the one I didn't recognize, wanted to see just how far she'd go. That's when something inside me shifted. I decided I wouldn't stop her. No yelling. No drama. Just quiet permission. Because sometimes, letting someone destroy themselves is more powerful than stopping them. The next morning, she came into the kitchen looking hesitant. I was making coffee. She said, Ethan, about what I said. I didn't mean to hurt you. I handed her a mug. I know, I said softly. You just want to figure things out. She blinked, surprised by my calm. Yes, she said slowly. Exactly. I smiled faintly. Then do what you need to do, Lena. Her eyes widened. You mean that? I nodded. But whatever you do, just be honest. I won't stop you. She looked relieved, maybe even grateful. She didn't realize she just stepped into the quietest trap of her life. Over the next few weeks, things changed. She started going out more. Girls' nights, late projects, creative workshops. But I never asked questions. I wanted her to feel free. Completely free. And the more freedom she felt, the more careless she became. One night, she left her laptop open on the couch. Emails, messages, photos, her entire second life on display. And this time, I didn't just look. I studied. The man's name was Michael Trent. 34. Marketing consultant. Met her through an online design forum. They'd been talking for months. Meeting for lunch. Then dinners. Then weekends. And soon, hotel rooms. I remember staring at the screen for hours, scrolling through every message, every I miss you, every I wish I was in your arms right now. Each word cut deeper than the last. But I didn't cry this time. I didn't break. I just memorized everything. Dates. Locations. Patterns. Because when someone betrays you, the most powerful thing you can do isn't to scream. It's to understand. That weekend, she told me she was visiting her friend Rachel in Portland. She packed her bags, hugged me softly, said she needed space. I smiled and said, "Take all the time you need." But the moment she left the driveway, I followed. I stayed far enough not to be seen. Watched her take the exit to Portland, but then turn left toward downtown Seattle instead. My chest tightened. She wasn't going to see Rachel. She was going to him. She parked outside a hotel. I watched from my car as she stepped out. Hair done, red dress, nervous smile. Moments later, he walked out to greet her. Tall. Well-dressed. Confident. They hugged. Then kissed. Right there, in the open, as if I didn't exist. My world went silent. The kind of silence that screams in your ears. I wanted to get out, to confront them right there. But I didn't. Because revenge needs patience. I drove away before she saw me. The rain started pouring, but I didn't feel it. All I could feel was a strange, heavy calm. It's funny, when you hit the deepest point of heartbreak, pain stops hurting. It becomes cold. Calculated. That night, she came home late again. Her hair smelled different. Her eyes looked distant. She said, "It was good catching up with Rachel." I just nodded. "Glad you had fun." She didn't realize I knew everything. And that made every lie of hers a nail in her own coffin. Days passed. I stopped asking questions. Stopped reacting. I became quiet, too quiet. She probably thought I'd given up, or moved on emotionally. But inside, I was building something. A plan. A mirror for her betrayal. I started documenting everything. Messages. Photos. Timelines. Not for court. Not for revenge. But for clarity. Because when I finally decided to walk away, I wanted her to see what she'd thrown away. Then one evening, while she was in the shower, I received an email from an unknown address. Subject: You deserve to know. Inside was a single photo, Lena and Michael, in a restaurant, holding hands. Under it, "She's been doing this for months. I thought you should see it for yourself." I never found out who sent it. Maybe someone who'd seen them together. Maybe someone from his life. But it didn't matter. The universe had just handed me the final piece of the truth. That night, I waited for her in the living room. She came out of the shower, hair wrapped in a towel. I said, "Lena, can we talk?" She hesitated. "Sure. What's wrong?" I handed her my phone with the email open. She froze. Then whispered, "Ethan, please, it's not what you think." I laughed softly. "Funny. That's the exact same thing you said the first time." Her hands shook. "Ethan, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to hurt you." I stood up slowly, eyes locked on hers. "Then why did you?" Tears streamed down her face. "I don't know. I felt trapped. I felt like we'd become boring." "Boring?" I repeated, voice breaking. "So your solution was to find excitement in another man?" She covered her face and sobbed. "I never stopped loving you." That was the cruelest lie of all. Because love and betrayal can't live in the same heart. I took a deep breath and said quietly, "You said you wanted to date another man? I won't stop you anymore." Her head snapped up. "What do you mean?" "I mean you're free, Lena. Do whatever you want. Go wherever you want. But not from this house." Her lips parted. "You're kicking me out?" I nodded slowly. "Not out of hate. Out of respect for myself." She fell to her knees, crying, begging, promising to change. But her tears no longer moved me. Because I'd already grieved the woman I married. She died the day she chose someone else. That night she left. Just a suitcase. No goodbye kiss. Just silence. As the door closed behind her, I stood in the empty living room, surrounded by ghosts of memories that no longer belonged to me. But deep inside, I knew this wasn't the end. Because a storm like this doesn't end quietly. And what came next would shock her more than anything she'd ever imagined. The house was silent. Too silent. After Lena left, I didn't collapse. I didn't scream. I didn't cry, at least, not in front of anyone. Instead, I felt free. The kind of freedom that comes after heartbreak, when the chains of love turn into lessons. But freedom wasn't enough. I couldn't erase the betrayal from my heart. And I couldn't allow her to forget, not yet. Revenge doesn't have to be loud. It doesn't have to be violent. Sometimes, the most powerful revenge is subtle. Quiet. Perfect. And I had time. Patience. Knowledge. The first thing I did was rebuild myself. I started working out. Eating healthy. Dressing sharper. Not to impress anyone, not even Lena, but to remind myself who I was before heartbreak tried to break me. I began documenting her betrayals meticulously. Every message, every lie, every date. I created a timeline. I knew that one day, I'd show her the full picture, not out of malice, but so she could see what she had thrown away. Meanwhile, Lena thought she had me under control. She thought I was broken. She thought I was her pawn in this little game of deceit. She couldn't have been more wrong. Weeks passed. She started texting me again. I miss you, Ethan. Can we talk? Maybe we can try again. Each message made me smile, softly, quietly. Because I knew something she didn't, the man she loved was never me. But the woman I loved, she still thought I was hers. I didn't reply. Not yet. I wanted her to feel the weight of absence. To feel the emptiness she had left behind. And she did. One evening, she came over unannounced. Dressed elegantly, hair perfect, perfume that made my chest ache. Ethan, she said, voice trembling. Please. I can't stop thinking about you. I poured us both a drink. Handed her a glass. And for a moment I let her hope. Let her think she could have me back. Then I smiled, soft, almost cruel. Lena, do you want to see what love really looks like? She blinked, confused. Ethan. I handed her a thick folder. It was filled with screenshots, emails, hotel receipts, messages between her and Michael. Every single betrayal. Every secret she thought I didn't know. Her eyes widened. I can explain. I shook my head. No, Lena. You can't explain this away. You wanted someone else. You got caught in your own web. And now, you get to feel it. Tears streamed down her face. I'm sorry. I love you. I laughed quietly. Love? Love isn't selfish. Love doesn't betray. You broke the trust we built over 5 years. She collapsed into the chair, sobbing. I poured another drink, this one for me, and sat across from her. And then came the twist. I didn't leave her. I didn't kick her out. I didn't call the cops. I did something much worse, I let her stay. But I changed the rules of the house, the rules of her reality. I started dating again. Not loudly. Not visibly. But subtly. She would see my texts, my calls, my laughter when friends visited. She would see the subtle confidence return to me. And she hated it. Every glance she gave me was now laced with guilt and regret. She realized she had lost not just my trust, but my presence in her heart. I was still here. But she couldn't have me the way she once did. Months went by. Lena stopped seeing Michael. She called him, she begged him, she cried to him, but he had moved on. Her heart had cheated, but the consequences were catching up. One evening, she tried to seduce me, thinking maybe she could reclaim what she had thrown away. I smiled. Not at her beauty. Not at her words. But at the power shift. Lena, I said softly, do you know what I want? Her lips trembled. Yes. I stood, walked past her, and kissed her forehead. Nothing. I want nothing from you. Her silence screamed louder than words. Because in that moment, she realized, she could no longer control me. She could no longer have me. And then, the final twist, the poetic justice. She asked for forgiveness? Begged for another chance. I said yes. Not for her. Not because I wanted her back. But because I wanted her to know the power of the person she betrayed. I forgave her, silently, completely. Then moved on. Not with her. Not with anyone she knew. I moved on with myself. And that, in a way, was the most shocking revenge of all. I gave her freedom, while taking my heart back completely. Years later, Lena reached out again. I've changed. Can we talk? I smiled, the real smile this time. Lena, I did change too. But not for you. I changed for me. You lost me the day you chose him over us. And that is something you'll never get back. She was silent. And I walked away. In the quiet, I reflected. Betrayal hurts. It scars. It changes you. But heartbreak also teaches. It teaches patience. It teaches dignity. It teaches that revenge doesn't have to be violent, loud, or cruel. Revenge can be quiet, subtle, elegant. It can be in reclaiming yourself. And that, my friends, is the real power of heartbreak. Because when someone cheats, when someone betrays, the ultimate revenge isn't in hurting them. It's in rising above. It's in showing them that they didn't break you. You survived. You thrived. And your calm, unstoppable rise is the thing they'll never forget. When betrayal hits, don't let anger control you. Don't seek revenge through violence or humiliation. The smartest, most cinematic revenge is reclaiming your life, your dignity, and your happiness. Because in the end, those who betray will see your glow, your peace, and they will know what they lost. And that is worth more than anything.